It's coming out. Oh my gosh, look at that. Man. What is that? Is it a real one?
This is a cow femur bone. Pretty nice. So I'm going to put this out. Our Lioness will come out here. And then I've also got some Christmas presents for them.
Wow.
Eddie, over here. That's one of the toys she likes. Actually, I'm going to put it in the water.
Oh my goodness, this will be different.
That was from their morning opening. They're going to get some boxes with one of their favorite enrichments in it. Elephant food. And we have a fresh supply of elephant food. So they really rolling it, rubbing it.
Oh my.
I can't use tape on my boxes, so excuse my wrapping, but I'm going to be bringing those out. And the female will come out first. The male will come out second with carrying his bone because our Lioness is on a diet. She's faster and smarter than him. So I have to give him his bone on his way out or else she'll take both.
Oh my gosh.
Because that's what she does.
Oh my gosh.
We'll see if it works out. They may want to go for the presents right away. The bones they usually trump that kind of stuff.
Seis millones de personas ahí. Más tarde, sí, es de vaca. Sí, de Navidad.
So it's just kind of like a wrapping paper tuck job here. One of them's got beef heart in it, so a nice little snack, and the other one's got poop. Girl usually goes for the food, the boy goes for the poop. That's how that goes. We'll see.
Next to in front of your
Venga, empezamos.
You can lay down because it took here.
Ahí va.
Lay down.
Mira, no me importa. Ahora va. Oh, yeah.
Cái người ta đổ đó hả? Ngay là.
나오면 올려.
Oh, there he comes.
Wow. Okay, now.
¿Tienes que con el lente para que veas?
And you know, this has been a special book because you know, these guys, when you're more active sunrise and sunset, you're all day. Yeah, I mean, looks like it is the start of our future. So we're
Hi everybody, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
So the presents are still untouched, but they went for the bones first, which is kind of what a carnivore would do, I guess. So my name's Nicole, and I'm glad you guys joined us for our holiday today. These guys are too. They've been waiting for this all day. He's been dying to have his bone all day. So his name is Mbari, and her name is Etosha. And what they're chewing on are cow femur bones. They get those twice a week. These guys are 11-year-old lions. In the wild, Mbari would probably be, as a male lion, he'd probably live 10 or 11 years, and that would be about it for him. Life's pretty harsh for an African lion in the wild. In captivity, this guy would live into his late teens, early 20s. Females, they're a little luckier. They're probably going to live 12 to 15 years, and in captivity, about the same as him. Now, you might notice on his teeth when he's chewing that he's got a lower right canine that's a little bit shorter than the others. Well, our buddy has a good HMO here. He knows I'm talking about him. And he had to have a root canal a couple of years ago. So he had stopped eating, and he got an infection. So in the wild, that would have been a life-ending injury for him. Luckily, he's got good doctors here and a good dentist. So he got a root canal. Our female, these guys are a breeding pair. They were, at least. She's now spayed, so she's fixed. If you guys were here earlier, they were going through the motions. So they still do that. But nothing's going to come of it. We're not going to have any babies here. But they still like to practice. And they're bonded to each other because they're very social. They've been together since they were like 6 or 7 months of age. So she had to have, when she had her first pregnancy with him, she had to have a C-section. So if she were in the wild, that would have been a life-ending injury for her. Luckily for her, she wasn't. She was able to have that C-section, or else she would have died of massive infection as well. So it is pretty tough for these guys in the wild. Here in captivity, it's pretty much a stress-free environment for these guys. They don't have much that they really have to worry about. And he's got everything that he needs here. He's got, all he would do is his territory size would be based on resources, food, water, and mate. Well, he's got everything right here, so he doesn't really have to go anywhere else looking for that. He's got everything he needs. But he's still gonna roar. Earlier he was roaring a little bit. That's how he's gonna advertise his territory. So you're gonna hear that lion roar for about 5 to 6 miles. He's also going to do what that sign shows in the front, which is urinate on everything. That's how he marks his territory and tells other lions that this is all his. So unfortunately for everyone who's in the front, there's probably been lion pee on all of that. FYI. Wash your hands before you eat. And he's peed as far as that bench back there. So what he'll do, especially when this, and usually he's active dawn and dusk, like our bus driver did say, if you guys were listening to him, which is crepuscular, that's the word. So there's diurnal, nocturnal, and then crepuscular. And these guys, that's dawn and dusk. So we're in here pretty early, these guys are up pretty early. And then as the sun goes down, you'll see him, the telltale sign that he's gonna roar, and that, you can hear the crunching, it's awesome, that he's gonna roar and that he's gonna pee on everything, is that he's gonna start pacing in the front. That's how he advertises his territorial boundary for you guys here, because you guys are kind of the threats to that territory. But he's going to start urinating on everything to mark stuff. And lions are, and so it's pretty obvious. So if the sun goes down, he starts doing that. He's usually looking for someone to urinate on and mark. And then he'll roar like every 10 minutes or so. So that's kind of cool. We're closed a little earlier today for the holiday, but we are open later the next few days where for Jungle Bells, and we have the nice lights where you guys can stay where it's dark. But it gets dark pretty soon, so he might do that for you guys to see. So these guys get a lot of enrichment, different toys, enrichment being something that's going to stimulate these guys mentally and physically. In the wild, things are going to change all the time for them. Their territories are going to change. So we try to do different things for them all the time. The box that is wrapped, that first one up there, has elephant poop in it. Sounds disgusting, but for a lion, that's a really good present. And it's like catnip for him. And they got some this morning. You might see behind the wood chips there, there's some little elephant poop spots. It's very sweet smelling, and it's Asian elephant poop. African elephant poop apparently is a little more runny than this stuff. So it came in a nice little ball that these guys licked and rubbed on, and it was like catnip for them. So hopefully when they're done with their bones, they'll come over and look at the presents. It'll actually probably take a while for them to get to them because they do love their food. We do a lot of, we never go in with these guys. They would kill me, and I like living. It's great. I do have all my fingers. I've been here almost 16 years, and I've been a keeper for 22 years. And you mostly big cats, and so I'm happy to say I have all 10, which is a feat. But we do hand feed them. So when they come down, we do a lot of training for husbandry purposes with them. I'll ask them to lay down. They'll sit. They'll stand up so I can look at the pads of their feet. They'll open their mouth on command. I can get them to do a side behavior where they throw their hip into the side if I needed to give them a hand injection for a vaccination. We have a crate inside that we teach them to go into and desensitize them to do voluntary blood draws while they're awake. So in a lion, and you might be able to see on her, lions have a really nice big vein on the side of the tail. For the elephants, the keepers take their blood from the back of the ear, and the elephants stick their ear through the side. Tail's nice for us because it is farthest away from the business end, so it works well. They come into that crate, they get reinforced for coming in, so it's a two-keeper job. They're getting fed, mouth's busy, and I can open up a little area and I can access their tail and put that in my lap, and I can manipulate that. They get reinforced for that every single step of the way. And then I can give them a poke with a syringe, and they get used to that. If they didn't like it, they wouldn't come back in the crate, and they always come back in the crate because the food trumps whatever we're doing to them. So if we needed to get blood from these guys while they're awake, we could do that, which is cool, because just like with us, it's really hard on their bodies to put them under anesthesia. And whenever we need to do any kind of thing like that, that root canal, the C-section, any kind of hands-on examination with them, they have to be asleep. They have to be under anesthesia. So we try to do a lot of training while they're awake, and that's why it's important for them to come to us. They lay down. They actually will fix their feet in a cool little manner, open their mouth, stand up so I can look at the pads of their feet, put their bodies from side to side, and I can actually feel their side of their body, see if they've got anything going on with them. So they actually participate in their own care, which is really cool. And what we do is we use positive reinforcement. So we never make these guys do anything, and we can't anyway. I wouldn't want to. He's a lot stronger than me. So this guy would definitely take me out. He weighs about 425 pounds. And she is overweight. She's on a diet though, so we need to send her words of encouragement, tell her how good she looks. She's been as big as 389 pounds. She's now 363. So she's on the right track. She's going down. We have nutritionists on staff that dictate what these guys should weigh. Unfortunately for her, her target body weight's probably closer to 275. So, you know, I still love her. She's great. She's nice and big and fluffy. She's a good eater. She's also had a C-section and she's spayed, so, you know, she's probably not gonna be the tiniest of things. But she's on her way, and we're just trying to get her a little bit more active. It's really hard because they're cats and they don't expend energy needlessly. So to get her to exercise is almost impossible. She'll run around for a little bit. It's nice that she'll do a couple of jumps up there, but that's about it. It's a little cooler now, and so she's doing a little bit more activity. But basically, we're getting into Operation Etosha. His name's Ambari, her name is Etosha, and we're going to really try to slim her down, get a couple of keepers, have her call her back and forth as many times as we can. So we'll see who loses weight the fastest, myself or the cat. But we're going to be working her, so hopefully it works. She doesn't get a lot of food. He gets 9.5 pounds of food every day, and she gets a little under 4 pounds at 363 pounds. So that metabolism's not the greatest. But, you know, like I said, they're not hunting for their stuff. Occasionally for enrichment, I'll give them some live fish, which they do like that. Our jaguar next door has live fish in her pool too. But when she has to work for it, she doesn't really want to do it. She wants it for free. So it's in their pool, and they live in there, but I'm constantly feeding the fish because they're breeding in there and she's not taking them out because she would rather have free food than work for it. And that's what most of these guys are. They don't want to expend the energy, so it's really hard to keep the weight off of them. So we try. These guys, they're social, they're bonded, they hang out together. He gets a different food amount than she does, so we've got to make sure we feed him separately. I could never just throw the food out here for both of them because she'd eat 90% of it, and he wouldn't care. He loves the bones and that kind of thing, but he probably wouldn't care if she ate all of his meat. Like I said, we have a nutritionist, and so when these guys are under anesthesia, our nutritionist will actually feel their bodies to body score them. So they'll get scored, rated from a 1 to a 10. 5 being ideal, 1 being super skinny, and 10 being obese. So our Ambari here, I'm happy to say, got a 5, so he's pretty perfect. She got an 8, so we're going to work on that. It's perfect 10s, and according to the nutritionist, is not a good thing. So we're just going to work on getting her healthier. So she's been as low as 320 pounds. She's probably never going to get lower than 300 pounds because she's a big girl. These guys, if you're familiar with the safari park, our sister facility up north, about 40 minutes from here, his 2 sisters live up there and her brother. So unrelated. Before these guys all came in from a zoo in South Africa, there were 6 of them. Her 2 brothers and his 2 sisters and the 2 of them. Before sexual maturity, the opposite brother and sisters were put together. So these 2 became a pair, and then his 2 sisters with her brother became a pride as well. So currently, his sister Oshana has 4 new cubs, 3 girls and 1 boy. Very, very cute. So that's really cool to see. They breed very, very well in captivity. Etosha has had 3 litters with him, only 1 of which resulted in a live cub, and he's in the Indianapolis Zoo. But because of her difficult pregnancies and things, and then she had the single cub she had with him, the last litter, she had 1. She took care of for about 3 weeks and then walked away from him. So he had to be hand raised. Luckily, his sisters, he had cousins, so they were able to put him with similar aged cats. You know, some hand raising and then also putting him in with his cousins. So he's off in another zoo, but because of that, she was spayed. We didn't want to lose her life. We didn't want to have to hand raise these guys because we really can't teach him to be a lion like a lion can. So we want moms to take care of their babies. So it's good. When our nursery is empty, it's a really good thing. I know a lot of people like to see baby animals, but that means that all the moms are doing their job. And that's what we like to see. I also take care of the jaguar next door. So if you have any questions about her, I can definitely answer those. Her name is Nindiri, and she's an 83-pound little cat, and she's a solitary cat. we're hoping that she's pregnant. So we're waiting to hear. We're waiting to get the hormone analysis back on her, basically her kitty pregnancy test. And hopefully we'll hear that in the next week or two. If not, we'll put her back with the male and see what we can do. But we are trying to breed our jaguars. She's already had a litter with the male that we have here. And like I said, for Christmas, I would like her to be pregnant. That's the good thoughts. So that's what we're hoping for. So these guys get a good variety of food. They get the bones twice a week. They get that ground meat that we give them, the carnivore diet. They also get a whole dead rabbit, except for Etosha. You wouldn't think a carnivore would be picky. She's actually really picky. She does not like rabbit. So she will not touch a rabbit. So she gets a bone on the day that he gets a rabbit. But that way they get the bones and the fur and all that good stuff that they really want. Once a month they're going to get a big beef shank. So they'll get that bone with the meat on it still. So they love that. That's really, really cool. Also a rack of ribs every once in a while, beef ribs. So they get a pretty good variety of stuff. They live for the bones though, as you guys can see. And lions are very social. These guys have been together forever. They live in prides. You're going to have one dominant male in the pride, but you can have more than one male in a pride. And then you're going to have a bunch of females. I mean, you could have up to 15, 20 or more lions in a pride. Other cats, like our jaguar, solitary. She doesn't want to have anything to do with our male unless she's cycling. So once a month for about a week, okay, great. Other than that, don't even come around. So we just wait for her behavior to dictate when we're going to put the male with her. Because if we do it at the wrong time, they could potentially kill each other. So we don't want that. And they're really nice jaguars, so we look for that behavior. We don't want them to get into a fight. But these guys, very, very bonded to each other. Females usually do most of the hunting in the pride. The males usually eat first, though, even though she does the hunting. I'm sure if the girls were out and they found some little morsel that they could sneak, he wouldn't know the difference, and maybe, I kind of hope that they just eat it on their own, but the big stuff they bring back to him, and he's basically the bouncer, the brawn, he's the brawn for the pride. So, I don't want to say too loud that she's the brains, but he's really pretty. He doesn't necessarily have a lot else going for him, but he's gorgeous, not so smart. So she usually, in pretty much every task, beats him to whatever's going on. So we really have to kind of dumb it down for our guy here, unfortunately. So that's why I put her bone out first, because she would normally grab her bone, then go sit on his, and then he would be sure that he never got one. And that happened a few times, and she's on a diet, and she really doesn't need any of the extra. So what I had to do was then give his bone to him on his way out. But then, of course, I don't know if you guys heard, he was growling at me because he was pretty sure I was going to take the bone from him. So I had to move away from where the bone was so that he would actually take it outside. Every once in a while when one of these toys, if it's windy and one of those toys floats towards him while he's got the bone, he's pretty sure that toy is going to steal his bone as well. And he will attack it, usually dropping the bone in the water, and he attacks the toy. It's kind of embarrassing. We used to put them in, like for enrichment, we put them in burlap bags. So I had a couple of burlap sacks. Threw both bones in the burlap sack. Well, she got hers, and she found hers right away. He carried the sack around on his mouth on the open end with the bone in it for minutes, like just crying that he didn't know where the bone was, what was going on, how to get it out. And we don't do it anymore for the fact that when he dropped it and gave up, the bone kind of slipped out. He walked away, she saw it, so she pounced on it, and she got beat up. Because then he realized what the mistake was. And she was like, oh, you're not going to eat that? Okay. And so he turned around and whacked her. She then had a nice little hole in her chest, a little puncture wound, which for a lion is very superficial. And she was like, whatever. She was able to lick it and clean it herself, and it was fine. Didn't have to put her on antibiotics or anything, but we're like, maybe we won't do that anymore. So we can usually tell who's got the good attitude in the morning. If he's in a good mood, she'll be in the same room with him. If not, she'll be in the next room behind, because he is a male lion. He's a little testy. He likes things the same. He doesn't really like change. So he gets a little cranky sometimes. She's a pretty much a go with the flow kind of girl. he does not like things changed. He doesn't want to go through this door. He wants to go through that door. He does, you know, so he likes things the same. We feed him at different times. He gets cranky sometimes when it's crowded and he's got to stay out extra hours for no extra pay, so to speak. In the summer, he gets cranky from our winter to our summer because instead of us closing at 6, we close at 9, and then his door doesn't open for 3 extra hours and he's mad. And people say, how do you know he's mad? Well, when I come in the morning, he's grumbly. She's usually sitting in the other room because he's had to be out here for 3 extra hours and he's had to work, you know, because this is their work. So if I opened their doors right now, you guys would never see them because they love their inside. And their inside's smaller than the outside, but it's nice for them. They have toys in there. It's just a positive place for them. And, you know, he can sit there and stare at the fridge or whatever he wants to do. But that's what he likes. And so in the morning, our lake keeper will actually open up these doors at night when the zoo closes, and so they can choose to sleep inside or outside. So they're only not locked in when I'm servicing the exhibit, cleaning, and changing out toys. So that's like maybe an hour in the morning, 45 minutes to an hour, that they're locked in. Otherwise, they have access in and out. They're locked out while you guys are here so they can work. He had to look at that big truck, make sure that was all legit. Then they have the cave in the front. So that cave has a rock in it, and so does the Jaguar one, and they're heated. So they're about 85 degrees. I actually did the heat gun on this one and it was 88 degrees. That's a hot rock. And you'll see her a lot of times sitting on that. He sits in the hay and she gets the rock. But yeah, they do like the hot.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, let's see what happens here. She might get a little testy with him with the, he's probably gonna, there's beef heart in that box, so there is actually food in that box. Yeah, I think he wants, oh, maybe not. And there he goes. He's just gonna sit on the wrapping paper, just in case she wanted it. He wants to make sure he gets a good spot. I kind of hope he goes for the poop for you guys too. That would be really cool. You guys have any questions? No. We don't take away what makes them lions. The questions are they declawed. They just have retractable claws. So the only cats that have the claws that you can see are the cheetahs. That is a cow femur bone. So cow leg bone. But yeah, so, yeah.
No, camina para acá con su vea.
Para marcar su territorio.
That's a good question. Usually you'll see, in my opinion, you know, animals that are eating are usually happy. I mean, it's very obvious to me when an animal doesn't feel well. They're going to go off food. They're not going to be social with each other. It's going to be a very obvious thing. With our Nindiri, our little jaguar, for instance, when she had an infection, because I've been her keeper for so long, it's just, you just know. It's kind of like with your kids or if you have animals at home. You just know if they're sitting in a different spot, something's not right, something's off and they don't feel well. It's pretty obvious. But they're very comfortable. You know, in the mornings I lay in on the backs and they play, you know, so when I still see that stuff, the play and the activity, to me, I think that seems like a pretty happy cat to me.
Mira, parece un elefante. Mira, tiene orejas y una... Mira, es un elefante.
Eso te tragan un bocado.
Sí, vamos a otro.
¿Ya?
Sí.
Vamos pues.
Right. But, you know, we do have a lot of people that we overlap, you know, and there are probably 6 of us that work with him, so it's not just me. To me, it's me by myself. I've worked with him for almost 5 years now. And his keepers that took care of him at the park, he knows that it's really cool to see when they come, when he was a little baby. I'm chopped liver. Like, he likes me compared to some other keepers, but then when they come, he'll growl at me because he wants to see them, you know. So, yeah, it's, you know, it's behavior. I mean, we've done this as biologists, you kind of know. As a zookeeper, you're kind of trained to assess their mental and their physical health. It's our job. Yeah. We don't have Asiatic lions, no.
Oh, are you taking a picture?
Yeah.
Okay, come on.